My name is Ben and welcome to Field Foley episode 21. Our guest today is Eran Ben-Isaac. With over 12 years of experience as a professional production sound mixer, Eran's expertise has graced numerous films and TV productions, documentaries and commercials. Now based in Brussels, Belgium, his influence spans both local and international projects. Eran's natural environment is the film set, where he captures the sonic essence of every moment, skillfully recording and mixing sound to bring each scene to life. So join us as we dive into this journey, the intricacies of production sound mixing and the global experiences that has shaped his unique approach. So, hi, and welcome to the show, Eran.
Hey Ben, thanks for having me.
So, right off the bat, I'd like to give the listeners a bit of explaining about what your role is, because there are so many fields in the audio, in the wider audio field. And so could you maybe briefly explain what a production sound mixer does?
Sure. As the name of the profession implies, what we do, what I do, I go on film sets or TV sets as a part of a crew with the cameraman and all the people around. And my job is to record the dialogue. That's my main mission.
Okay, and is it only the dialogue or also like environmental sounds and like soundscapes for later on?
So basically, the dialogue is the main mission because ambient sound and follies can be created in post, but it's very difficult to record the dialogue all over again. So absolutely, dialogue is the main mission, but of course, I get also wild sounds and special atmospheres if we are on special locations.
Yeah, that makes sense because I'm thinking maybe some of those locations can't easily be recreated either, right? I mean, depending on especially for documentaries, if you're in a special place, that might be interesting. And yeah, how did you get started in this field of production sound mixing? Was it always your goal to do that exactly, or is it something that just came naturally?
Actually, well, I studied sound engineering about 15 years ago, and my goal was to be a sound designer. But as time went by, I realized that I don't really like to sit by myself in a dark room in front of the computer. I prefer to be outside with people and to get new experiences. So, as a student, next to my sound school, there was a film school, and I had many friends from there. So, I helped them with their student movies. And when I finished my studies, I hung some posters on other film schools, calling directors to work with me. Back then, Facebook wasn't that popular, so I had to go there and list my name on the billboard. And yeah, slowly, the students that I worked with got into the industry, and the projects that I took got bigger and bigger and more interesting.
That's awesome. So you grew with them, so to say.
Sort of, yeah. You know, after a while, I also find myself doing projects with people that are way more time than me in the industry. Yeah, so it goes.
Yeah, and can you maybe describe your typical workflow on a film set and what's like the first thing you do? Do you maybe check where the best spot would be to record, or what kind of mic you use, or what is like your process when you're starting on a fresh day?
First of all, I would try to find the big sound issues on location and try to eliminate them. Let's say if I get in a location and there is a huge fan working and creating a lot of noise, first of all, I just find a way to make it stop. So alongside with the producer, we just try to find ways to eliminate all the big sound issues. And if we can't, we're thinking of the option to find a different location. So after that, I set up my gear. If it's a documentary shoot, then it doesn't take long. On narrative shoot, I have my cart, and it takes a bit longer. But yeah, after I get to know the location, I set up my gear. If I work with a boom operator, we discuss the scene and what would be the best way to approach it. And then I need to love my talents, sync time code to the cameras, give IFBs to director or any other people that need to hear sound. And yeah, then we're good to go.
Yeah, you just mentioned that like for a narrative shoot you have your whole card and it's a bit more complex. So for documentaries, most of the time is it like less people or why is it different and more easily to set up for documentaries than for narrative movies?
In narrative movies, normally you reach a location and you just sit there for most of the day. So you don't need to be light. When it comes to documentary, normally when it comes to sound, it's a one-man show. There's no boom operator, it's only me. So I have my mixer bag. I try to keep it as light as possible. It would be on me most of the day. I use a harness to carry everything. So everything is much lighter and faster and mobile. So it takes less time to set up.
I see. Being flexible and fast to change scenes, that makes sense. Just like me. I'm also out on my own most of the times, and it's like everything can fit on me and I can pack up and move somewhere else very quickly. That's the best way of doing it. And yeah, you mentioned also like that sometimes there's big fans or other noises. So are those like the main challenges, like having something very noisy that you try to either shut down or move somewhere else? Or do you have any other challenge that might be not that obvious maybe that you have to deal with?
Well, every location is different, but basically the real world will always get in the way between me and getting clean recordings. So yeah, basically I eliminate in advance whatever I can. I unplug the fridge or turn off computers or any other machine that can generate sound. Also, it's all about communication with the people in the area, especially when it's a documentary shoot. People are not used to be on set, so I need to approach them very nicely and tell them that they need to be quiet and don't talk or do anything while we're rolling. All phones must be silent, also without a vibration, which is very important because you can really hear the vibration when everything is so quiet all around. And then there's also sound issues that occur during takes, like a dog can bark or a car can pass by, or airplanes are the worst enemies of the sound recordist. So we definitely need to ask for another take. If it was a good take and it was ruined by sound issues, it's definitely the time to ask for another take. Also, the costumes can be problematic sometimes because some fabrics generate a lot of noise. So it can be very bad for laughs, also for the boom sometimes. Some costumes may be challenging for hiding mics. One time I had a commercial for bikinis. So I had like 10 girls wearing bikinis and I had to laugh all of them. So
Okay, so how did you do that? Like, where did you hide them?
in the bikini.
Of
Yeah,
course.
it was very challenging, but
Yeah.
everything is doable. And if it's impossible, you just do it with a boom. But the angle of the shoot is also very helpful sometimes, because if you take someone's profile, you can just wire the mic from the other side.
Yeah, so you hide it from sight, right? Yeah, maybe also on that point, you just talked about that sometimes it's difficult to find that right position. Um, like how do you choose those? I mean, you just said like trying to hide them from sight. Do you have any other tips, maybe any techniques to hide them or to make them less noisy? Any gear, any, I don't know. You use this one thing and that helps every time.
Well, basically, the main tools that I use as a production sound mixer are the wireless microphones, the lavaliers, and the boom.
Mm.
There are other options like PZM microphone that sometimes is being used, but not really. It's mostly the boom and the lavs. So with the lavs, of course, it always depends on what the talent is wearing.
Hmm.
The best positioning, in my opinion, is around the chest, or also on the head. If the talent is wearing a hat, it's possible to mic around the forehead. Also, it depends which mic you're using. There are different types of lavs. I'm a fan of DPA microphones.
Hmm.
So I find that the 4061 is the best sounding microphone, and it's ideal around the chest. The 6061 is better around the neck, so I use it a lot when I have problematic outfits. And for the boom, it depends on the frame. It would be ideal from the top, but let's say it's a very noisy environment and the frame is not that wide. I can also come from below,
Hmm.
and that eliminates a little bit of the environmental sound.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then you have like multiple mics with you and choose it depending on the spot. I mean, if you have enough space in your bag for the shoot.
Absolutely.
That's good. Always be prepared. And yeah, when you're then on the set, and how's like your collaboration with the other members of the film crew? So like the director and other people, is it like something you scouted before and then you talk with them about how the shoot will look and how where you can hide your mics, or is it just like a very fluent like when a problem arises you speak it up, or is there a lot of planning beforehand?
Well, on an ideal world, I would come to location scouts, but that almost never happens,
Hmm.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I arrive on set and start to find my way around it. Basically, the thing about sound on film sets is that sound is a lone department. All the other departments, they take care of the frame, on the visual, on what you see. And many times people don't really understand the sound issues or don't think about them.
Hmm.
So it's my job to bring that up as much as I can. And of course, I need to be friendly. I need to be friends with the director and the DOP. And I need to make them understand that the sound issues are also their problems, even though they don't hear them or feel them.
Yeah.
They will have to handle with it in post. So we need to eliminate and fix as much as we can right here on set. So yeah, before every scene, I always need to give my inputs and to talk about it, just to bring up all the sound issues and suggest how to deal with them.
Yeah, so a lot of social skills. Yeah,
Absolutely,
that makes
yes.
sense. Yeah. I also realized that like very early on, when I was younger, we made like a short movie, and when you're so fixated on the visuals and lighting, and just like you said, like there are many departments there. Like you have lighting, you have costumes, you have all that stuff. But when you're so like fixated on the visuals, you almost tune out the sound. So that's when a friend of mine suggested to do the sound and just do the sound. And many times when he said like, we have to do it again, like a car passed by, I didn't even hear it because we were also fixated on like the visual aspect of it. So yeah, it would be maybe ideal if people have at least an idea that that happens, that kind of tunnel vision, right?
I would never argue with anyone. I mean, if the director wants to move on, we can move on. But
Sure.
it's important for me to let them know that there was an issue and they need to consider that,
Yeah.
and to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they also need to know what that means later on in post, just like you said. Yeah, maybe going onto the post a bit. Like, what is like your experience with like the sound design in post? I'm guessing it's like especially for narrative movies, it's like a integral part of it. I've already had a couple of sound designers on the podcast, but I'm especially interested in like documentaries. Is it something where it's like, as you said, like you're primarily there for the dialogue, but you're probably also recording some ambiences there that you will then deliver to the crew. But how much of the sounds you hear in documentaries then are like added on later on?
It's a good question. I'm not a sound designer, so I can't give you an accurate answer. But generally speaking, on documentaries, the sound is much more rough than in narrative films. In narrative films, everything needs to be crystal clear. And when it comes to documentaries, we embrace the fact that we're shooting in the real world, and we let the sound problems be a part of the scene.
Yeah.
But basically, the most important mission is to get the dialogue. And then, if there was a very special ambient sound, I would definitely record it again separately. But I think also in post, they can add some interesting sounds and emphasize the emotions that the viewer is supposed to feel while watching the scene.
Yeah, I would have guessed like then if you watch something after you shot it, you might be like, oh, that didn't sound like that at all, or that sounds even better than I had it in mind, or something like that. So
Oh, that's definitely right. Sometimes I'm getting very dramatic in my head. I feel that the sound is terrible and it's a disaster. And then when I watch the movie, it sounds pretty good. So,
that's
yeah,
good. So either they fixed it in post, or you were like too critical of yourself.
I think,
Both of those
yeah,
could be
I'm
possible.
definitely too critical of myself.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I mean, I also talked about that with another guest about like how we try to get rid of the noise, but at some point if we get rid of all the noise and all the distractions, we get a really clean and yeah, almost lifeless sound. So like the balance is always hard to
Mhm.
get right. Yeah, maybe for new people that want to go in that direction of being a production sound mixer, do you have any like advice for people starting out there, where to look for what this route can entail?
Well, I think there are two main points that are super important. First of all, always stay professional. Know what you're doing. Never stop learning. There's always something new to learn. And when you're on set, sometimes it can get very stressful. Don't panic, be professional, do your job as fast as possible and the best that you can. And the second thing is all about your vibe. Always be friendly, always be kind. I think people want to work with nice people, and if you're nice and kind, that will get you the next gig.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like it's most of the time it's about being a team player and not about the person with the most skills, because if they're horrible to work with, then you don't want to hire them.
Exactly.
Um, Yeah. Yeah, and maybe also for like equipment. If you're like starting out, I'm guessing, especially for, like you said, like for small productions, you're one-man sound team. So, um, what would you say? Like, what types of equipment are essential? Yeah, of course, lavalier mics and maybe a good recorder. Anything else that might not be that obvious, maybe?
Well, first of all, the heart of the gear is the recorder. It must be a good one.
Yeah.
I see some mixers work with really shitty equipment, and it hurts me. I can't understand like why. I mean, I know it's cheaper
Hmm.
to get some recorders, but I don't know. In my opinion, you need to have a good recorder and good microphones if you want to have a good sound. So yeah, definitely good recorder, good wireless systems.
Hmm.
Also, I see some people that work with very cheap wireless systems, and that always can cause problems. I think Lectrosonics, Wizicom, or Zaxcom are the way to go. If you buy cheaper wireless systems, it will always give you trouble. And microphones, yeah, of course, you must have good microphones, good lavaliers, good uh, gun mics, good condensers. Yeah, but basically you don't need much. You need a good recorder, 3 or 4 wireless microphones, a boom, um, 2 or 3 IFB systems. IFB are the headphones that you give the director or
Hmm.
producer, anyone else that needs to hear sound. And of course, timecode is essential.
Yeah. So you mentioned like the IFB system. So that means like you can give the writer a headphone as well, and they can hear what you hear while they're shooting, right?
They wouldn't hear exactly what I hear. I just let them hear the mix.
Okay, nice. So you get the full experience.
I get the full experience. It's very important for me that they will have the dialogue in their ears.
Hmm.
So it helps them to get more focused on what's happening.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's very cool to hear. Yeah, I'm guessing for people that are not in the sound sphere, that's interesting to hear all that because I'm feeling that we have not a lot of information about all those behind the scenes stuff because every time I see movie behind the scenes, sound is mostly very, very low on the list or isn't mentioned at all. I mean, you see people with boom mics walking around, but like all those intricacies that you have, like yeah, a set of headphones, and you are responsible for mixing something the director hears. That's yeah, especially to me, that's something that's very interesting.
Hmm.
And yeah, going a bit more into the recording side of things. Can you speak a bit about like the difference of recording indoor versus outdoor scenes? I mean, one thing that's very obvious for me is, of course, when you're outdoor, you most of the time have some kind of wind, so you probably have wind protection. But maybe something else that I might not know about. That's interesting.
Well, first of all, that's very important. Outside, there is wind, so you
Hmm.
definitely need a good wind protection. So for that, we use the blimp
Hmm.
and the fur when there's high wind.
The dead cat. Yeah.
The dead cat, yeah. Um, I'm a cat lover, so I don't like
Hmm.
this term.
Yeah.
I
It's
just
it's
call it
always very weird to me as well.
just
Yeah.
call it the fur.
The fur. Okay. Good.
um, and of course, the type of the microphone is also very important. So outside we use gun mics, so they have a very narrow pattern, so they will get more direct sound. We're trying to get good, clean dialogue and less of the environment sound.
Hmm.
So gun mics are pretty good for that mission. But when it comes to interiors, it wouldn't be a good idea to use gun mics because each room has its own reverb. And gun mics don't get along very well with reverb. So for interior recordings, I prefer to use super cardioid microphones. My favorite is Sennheiser MKH50. Of course, there are other wonderful microphones for that, but that is my go-to microphone. I also use blankets sometimes, sound blankets, to reduce a little bit of the reverb of the room.
Oh, nice. I didn't expect that. That's interesting. So you have blankets in your bag.
No, but on narrative productions, or if I know that there's going to be a problematic location, I ask the production to get me some blankets.
Very cool. Yeah. So how do you approach mixing sound for documentary compared to a narrative film?
First of all, in narrative films, the boom is the king. It's the main mic and would take most of my focus. I do use lavalier microphones, of course, but we do want to get the warm, natural sound of the boom. In documentaries, we use mostly lavs. The boom is there if one of the lavs fail or if someone unexpected enters the situation. But but I try to avoid the boom and to be a bit more far from the situation so things can happen more naturally. So also as a person in documentary, my goal is not to be felt so talents can feel as comfortable as possible and open up. And you will probably won't see me talk too much when I'm on a documentary set. But in narrative sets, I must be very charismatic and take care for what is best for my department. So you will see me talk a lot, walking around, discussing with everyone, because everything must be perfect. Unlike a documentary, that mistakes are very acceptable, warmly acceptable even.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and also then when you've done like recording and delivering something, how's your collaboration between the other parts of the sound department, especially in bigger productions? Is it just like you deliver your product and then that's it, or do you have like back and forth? Do they ask you maybe for something else, or is it just a very like disconnected kind of working mode?
Unfortunately, where I come from, there is no connection between the production team and the post production team. I never discuss with the sound designer. Hopefully, now in my new city, in my new location, it would be a bit different, but I don't know yet.
That would be great. I feel like collaboration is the way to go for everything. But yeah, I expected so much. So it's like you're trying to do the best job you can, recording and give them the material to work with, and yeah, then that's it. So
Actually, when I finished my studies, I was working for 6 months in a post studio, and I was looking at it as a stage. I really tried to understand what the sound designers, what they want, what they don't want, what gets them angry, what makes them happy. And I think it gave me a good idea how to work on field, what to deliver, and what not to waste my time on. I try to do my best to go with my understanding of things, and I haven't heard complaints yet. So I
that's
suppose I'm
good.
doing a fine job.
Yeah, yeah, I'm guessing also. Yeah, that's very interesting. What role does ambient sound play in creating a realistic audio environment for film? I mean, especially, I'm guessing for documentaries that might be, as we already touched about, like certain areas that might be important to have those kinds of sounds from those areas.
Well, basically, the ambient is the sound of the world that we are in. Um, Without it, everything feels so thin and not convincing. So I think in general, in cinema and especially in documentaries, there's a need to feel the ambient of the location. It really helps the viewer to be sucked into the scene and feel what the talents feel.
Yeah, maybe going back on all the projects you did already. Is there some particular kind of project that you're like particularly proud of, and yeah, or was very challenging? Maybe you can share some stories from your past projects.
About 5 years ago, an American Christian rock band came to Israel, and
Okay.
they wanted to film themselves performing in different locations, important locations for Christianity.
Hmm.
So they had two acoustic guitars, three vocalists, and a keyboard. And I decided to go wireless on everything because we were outside in nature and I couldn't get a lot of gear with me. So I decided to go wireless and it was challenging and the locations were very different from one another. They wanted to record one of the songs in a huge chapel with crazy
Mm.
reverb.
Mm.
So I used some studio techniques, a deca tree, and I placed some microphones all around to get the natural reverb of the location. One song was recorded on a boat in the middle of the Sea of Galilee. Uh,
Wow.
and it was filmed during sunrise, so we had only one take to to do it right.
Oh wow.
But yeah, it was very successful. I was very happy
That
about
is
the
high pressure.
results. It was a
That is
lot of
high pressure.
fun, a lot of challenges all the time. Everything was changing. Yeah, it was a great experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. Maybe if you can share the link, we'll put it in the show notes because I'd certainly like to watch it, especially like seeing the one take of the sunrise. That might have been like, oh, that's already stressful when I'm thinking about it. Like, okay, you don't only have the one chance to get it right,
Yeah.
one chance per day. Whew. And yeah, maybe also on documentary work. Anything that stood out to you? Anything where you're like particularly proud of, or that was very challenging to do?
Well, documentary in general is amazing. Um, Documentaries took me to places. I was recording an interview with an astronaut at the European Space Agency.
Oh, that's nice.
I was working on a musical documentary in Malawi, in Africa. I was working on a food documentary in the US. So, yeah, documentary always takes me to places to see new cultures, new countries, new cities. There are always interesting stories, interesting topics. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Technically, it's sometimes less challenging than narrative, but the content and the experience is always great.
That all sounds great. Yeah, and then maybe one question I always like to ask all of my guests is, what is the first sound you ever recorded, and why did you record it? That's gonna be interesting.
The first sound I ever recorded, professionally or
Doesn't matter. I mean, whatever you can remember. It's a question aimed to like get you to think, and then maybe some nice stories pop up.
I think the first sound I recorded was using a microphone. Was as a student. I'm trying to think of my first assignment. I think we were supposed to record kitchen stuff and then create some music with all the recordings. So I suppose the first sound I was recording was fork hitting glass or something.
Yeah, that's
Probably something
interesting.
like that.
Kitchen beats. Okay.
Exactly, the kitchen bits.
Yeah, I'm guessing a lot of sound designers have done that, like recording stuff and then like, oh, that could be like a kind of rhythm. Let me make a beat out of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, how did you first, yeah, get this like this? I would say like passion for sound in general, because, like you said, like on the film set, there are many people that are on the visual side of things, and we sound people are on the audio sound, and it's like a different, yeah, it's a different sense, and it's a different world. So, how did it start for you? This passion for sound?
Well, as I said before, as a student, I had many friends that were studying cinema, and they were always looking for someone to record their little movies. So I always volunteered just to help my friends. and it was nice. I had fun, and it was easy. And when I told people that it's so easy, they didn't understand what I'm talking about. For them, it's like it's super difficult. They can't understand it. So
Yeah.
then I realized that I have some kind of a talent for this specific thing. So I just kept doing it. It was easy. It was fun.
Yeah.
It gave me money in the end. So kept doing it until today.
That's cool. Yeah, it came easy and it gave you money, so that's perfect combination.
Yeah, I'm
That's
not
awesome.
saying that it is easy, but I
Yeah, of
suppose
course,
that
yeah.
I have
But yeah.
some kind of talent of uh, the understanding of how to record good, healthy
Yeah.
sounds.
I think it's maybe what we are most comfortable with our senses, because I also talk to people that have this visual thing, like for example visual artists that do special effects or something, that have like when they see, I don't know, an explosion or something, they always already think in like layers and how to light this and how to recreate this in special effects. And for me it's like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and they're like, oh, that's very easy. It's like I have a clear picture of what or how to achieve this. But for me, it's like the same with sound. Of course, it's like, oh, I can use this prop to make this sound. And they're like, what are you talking about? I have no idea. But it's
Mm.
like, yeah, it's probably what you're like, what your sense that you're most comfortable with working, probably.
Bro,
Yeah,
I
that's
also
interesting.
must say that if you give me a camera, I wouldn't know what to do with it. I mean, I can
Yeah,
set up the audio and I can sync time code, but other than that, I can do nothing.
yeah, but I mean, syncing timecode is already the thing that you. If you can do that, then you can at least work with the other people. That's nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, like setting up camera angles as well. It's something that's I can I can see when an image looks good, and I have a somewhat, I would say, okay eye for like doing some photos or something, but especially lighting and the different angles and stuff like that is like, yeah, that's not my kind of thing.
But I must say
Um,
that for sound, it's very important to understand uh, frame
mm,
and also to try and see how they will edit all the frames in the end.
mm,
It helps a lot for understanding how to get the best sound, when not to make an incredible effort to get the best sound. I mean, if you have an extreme long shot and you can never use the boom to get the audio, but you
mm,
know that after that you have two close-ups. So understanding that also helps you to release a little bit and not be stressed about getting the perfect sound all the time when you know that
mm.
they can get the good sound from other angles.
Yeah, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Um, can you talk a bit about like the first documentary you ever did, or like the first movie set you were on? Like, what was your like experience? Like, what was your feeling? What was your fears? Of course, your fear were probably like, oh, I'm gonna botch the sound. Hopefully, everything goes well.
It was such a long time ago. Um, I was a student, that's for sure. So I remember my first time on set. It was a 48 project.
Mm.
So do you know this project? It happens every year in many countries around the world. Normally, film students do that. Everybody gather in a room, and then the project gives you a genre, and you just need to go and create a movie in 48 hours.
Mm. Okay, like a game
Um,
jam, but for movies.
exactly. Uh, so we got a musical, uh,
Nice.
me and my crew, and yeah, we just uh, brought some songs with the actors, and uh, it's a terrible movie, basically. But it
Yeah,
was written, shot, and edited in 48 hours.
yeah,
But it was a fun experience.
yeah.
Also, I think that's when I fell in love with making cinema. It was my first time on set, and it was so much fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm guessing it's a great learning experience. We have the same thing in like the video game industry, where it's these game jams that are usually um, either 24 hours, which are like the really hard ones, or like over a weekend or something, and that that really makes you think about what is the most effective thing I can do in that short amount of time to get something. So you get really creative at getting solutions fast. So I'm guessing for you it was the same,
Hmm.
and you learn a lot. I mean, you learn what doesn't work very quickly. That's awesome. I didn't know that this existed for movies as well. That's very cool.
Oh yeah, it's there. It's going for a very long time. Uh, Probably even this year, it will happen again. Uh,
That's awesome.
I think they also have it in Germany. Probably.
Yeah, most definitely,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah. As I'm more like in the video games, I don't have like the connections to those like kind of people, but it's it's very cool. Yeah, and maybe also talking a bit, if you're comfortable with, about like you're moving to Brussels now. You're from Tel Aviv, right?
Right.
So I'm guessing you left there for personal reasons, if that's what I'm guessing.
Um, yeah, my wife grew up in Brussels, and her family is still here. And we're talking for a long while about relocating to Europe.
Hmm.
And we decided that now is the time. We got here
Yeah.
about 2 months ago. Um, so now I'm here. I haven't done any work yet. I suppose that would be my biggest challenge, to rebuild a network.
Hmm.
In Israel, I know everyone. Everyone
Yeah.
knows me. So it's pretty easy to find jobs. Uh, and now I'm here in a new place. So I hope that things will get rolling soon, and I'll start work again, because I truly miss the film set.
Yeah, I can imagine. And so you're looking again for the same thing you did before, like documentaries, narrative movies, um,
Absolutely.
yeah, film sets of all thoughts.
Hmm.
That's cool. Yeah. I will try to reach out to people I know.
Ah, that would be
Um,
lovely. Thank you.
yeah, I'll try my best. I think that was all of my questions. So the only thing left is, do you have any shout outs, any maybe upcoming projects, or you're looking for a job right now, so that is also a good shout out. So feel free, the stage is yours.
Yeah, well, basically being a freelance means to constantly seeking for a job. But I'm here in Belgium. I'm new. I'm good. I don't speak French yet. I'm learning slowly. But yeah, if someone from Belgium is hearing that, let's work together. It will be fun.
Awesome. Yeah, then thanks again for being on the show and for sharing your insights, and I hope you have a lovely day.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Have a great day.
Looking for more audio related podcasts to listen to? We're part of the Audio Podcast Alliance, featuring a hand picked selection of the very best podcasts about sound. Be sure to hear the latest episodes from our friends in the community at audiopodcast.org. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please consider supporting on patreon.com/fieldandfoley or ko-fi.com/fieldandfoley, where you gain early access to episodes in lossless format and can submit questions for our guests. Thank you for listening.